Yes, please. Okay. Do you want me to put this on?
Yeah, you can put that in your pocket or
Okay.
in this test.
Hello? Okay. Start. Yeah. Is that okay? A little bit higher?
Alright, so I'm going to hand over to Sampson and Kathy Hutchins and Lucia Beeson, who are going to be presenting about integrating technology, a course as a resource, enabling a care, connect, create approach.
So, hi everyone, I'm Sean Sampson. I'm number 4 on the list over there. So it takes a village. I'm going to be talking about an online research writing course for postgrad students called Journeys in Research Writing. The title of it is Integrating Technology, a Course as a Resource. And I know you all can read. But I'm going to reread it because it says enabling a care, connect, create approach in our pedagogy. And I'm a bit iffy about that title because I think something that we do as part of our approach is we constantly query that kind of pedagogy where maybe we're circling around the care, connect, create rather than getting there. So the course itself, as I mentioned, is called Journeys in Research Writing. The course started in 2015. With teaching development grant funding. And like I said, it's a research writing course. It's a free 5-week course for postgraduate students. And the focus initially was the transition into postgraduate studies. So from 2016 onwards, our observations are that we're attracting students from a variety of disciplinary backgrounds, but also students from different universities. But the majority of these students are based in the humanities and in health sciences. So quite recently, we've started taking the course, the generic course that's open to students across disciplines, and trying to embed that in particular disciplinary contexts. And I'll talk a bit more about that as the presentation proceeds. But like I said, the reason why I don't want to claim the care, connect, create is because there are tensions, there are certain uncertainties, questions that we're asking about our pedagogy, about our approach. So that's just to give you an indication of what the participant journey could be on the site. So they'd access weekly writing tasks. They submit tasks in the My Portfolio section on top over there, so they have a record of their weekly writing. They have a writing mentor who gives them feedback on their work, and they also get feedback from the particular group that they're in. Every week we have what we call a Just Write session, where participants can write in the online space with others, so they're accountable to other writers, and to do at least an hour of writing every week. And they also have access to a variety of writing resources through the site. And so this is a WordPress site that's embedded in the online learning platform Vula. So maybe these are our gestures towards that approach of care, connect, create. First being, we don't tell participants what their writing goals or aims should be. They come in deciding that I want to work on my proposal, I want to complete part of my literature review, my methodology section. And you can see there the majority of the participants in this case want to complete a part of their proposal. So they kind of define their own aims. Interestingly, on Journeys in Research Writing, like I said, it takes a village. You also have the voices of different members of the team communicating with participants on the course. So there's a different flavor each time around, but there's also a different flavor even within the course as we all bring our own particular signatures to the resources we offer and the guidance we offer. That also gives you an indication of our view of writing as a journey. So our tasks include parts where participants locate themselves, so their motivations for why they're doing what they're doing, as they journey towards their chosen writing product that they've decided to create by the end of the course. One of our key tasks comes in week 2, where we ask participants to think through their motivations for their research questions or their research topics. And it's depicted by that circle over there. So they talk about their relationship to the theory that they're using, the social circle, signals, maybe community or national events that have influenced their research. And the personal circle indicates personal qualities or experiences that have influenced their research. And at particular moments, the theory circle is the smallest, and maybe the personal circle is the biggest for a particular participant, for a particular researcher. But then there are also moments where the theory circle is larger, and maybe those personal connections aren't really apparent yet. And what the course does, it allows them to bring that out, to articulate that through their writing. I spoke about the Just Write space, the communal writing. So we meet up in the Vula chat room, participants set a writing goal for the hour, and they write for short bursts of 20 minutes. And they check in each 20 minutes to communicate their progress. And that's a view of the blogging space. So participants would post their writing in the My Portfolio space. You can see that there are a number of entries there, and then a writing mentor would come in and comment on those posts, but other participants would also give peer feedback. And lastly, we also believe that we're responsive. So if there is a participant who would like particular resources, for instance, on a literature review or a chapter of their thesis, then that's something we'd either develop or we'd search for and put on the site. This is just an overview of the course statistics. So, as you can see there on the right, participation is the number of participants who visited the site. Engagement is actual activity. So, they've engaged with the My Portfolio, they've posted writing, they've been involved in the chat room. Completion is whether they've completed all tasks, and enrollment is just signing up. Now, over the 3 years, because these are stats from 2016 to 2018, notice the differences there between participation, engagement, and completion. So while participation and engagement is high, completion isn't, which means that participants aren't necessarily completing all the writing tasks, but we also don't know if they're achieving their writing goals. They could very well be developing that proposal, but we can't see that on the site. But we also have anecdotal evidence that participants are using these resources because they're engaging. So maybe they're using the resources and deploying it in their own research journeys in ways of their own choosing. That's not dictated by the course. So what does that do to that cycle? That means that initially there's a cycle towards achieving that writing goal, but maybe a participant is using the site as a resource. And once they've got that resource on literature reviews, they're saying, that's what I needed, thank you. And maybe that's success. So now we're entering a stage where we're developing research projects around the course. Like I said, we're looking at adapting the course to particular contexts. And these research projects are collaborative projects. The broad aim is to look at the relationship between online writing courses and knowledge making. Because we're existing in a context where we're asking questions about diversifying knowledge, epistemic diversity, new forms of knowledge. And what we're also interested in is when you have these new forms of knowledge, are we going to write in the same way? Can we also ask questions around new forms of expression? Our approach is a design-based approach. So in each of our contexts, what we're looking for are principles for adapting the course to these particular contexts. And the cycles there are understanding the contexts, developing new tools, so in terms of the site, using the site and refining it to adapt to this particular context, and then reflecting on that journey. And I've just given you an outline of what constitutes a design principle. So if I want to design an intervention for the following purpose, I wanted to give it the following characteristics, using the following procedures, because of the following arguments. That's an example of a guideline, or principle rather, but that's something we also query, because how do you create design principles in a context of uncertainty, when what counts as knowledge is being questioned? These are the links that we've made thus far in terms of adapting the site. I'm going to talk about two of them, one being Center for Public Mental Health, the other being the Malin Mays Undergraduate Fellowship, but the others are the Mandisa Mentoring Program, University of Johannesburg Biomedical Science, Gender Studies, and the University of Lagos. So that's what JRW looks like in each of those sites. The Malin Mays Undergraduate Fellowship is an equity program which aims to increase the number of Black PhDs. And we support them when they're in their third year, as they transition into postgraduate study. In public mental health, we work on a block release course with health professionals who are doing their masters. And these are just some of the things we found. So some of the tensions that exist. In Mellon, we're using a blended model. So we're using the course, the online course, in conjunction with face-to-face meeting with students. But we've also found that there's tensions between the program structure, the way the program itself rolls out, and the course rollout. We already have students asking for diverse forms of expression. In public mental health, we found that there's a need for closer collaboration between the teaching team and between teachers in the site. There are particular content gaps there, and there's a need for more peer interaction. But like I said, this task, which appears in week 2 of the generic site, as a constant across all adaptations of the course. And perhaps that's a gesture towards care, because we're inviting an affective response to research. We're inviting participants to think through the personal in the research that they're doing. Some choose not to, but many participants do, and they make links that they haven't made before. So this messy document is our design principles. So we start off with a broad principle, and we constantly layer over that without losing the original, but we query that, we critically reflect that, on that, in response to what we encounter in those different settings. So can we actually say that the course is successful in terms of writing goals being achieved if our stats show us that students are using the course as a resource. So that forces us to, for instance, consider the course resource dynamic. So it's as if we're in dialogue with ourselves in the formulation of our design principles. What I've put down there is that we've realized we need to understand the conditions in place in each of those sites that affect and change these principles. So how do they relate to those broad principles we had initially? So alongside the process of adapting this resource to particular context, we're also trying to make writing resources and courses for postgrad students, for researchers, more visible, and enabling participants to construct their own writing pathways by giving them access to various courses and resources around writing as we're refining them. And this is one of the platforms that we've developed, where participants can construct their own writing journeys through this platform by signing up for these courses. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
Thank you for that presentation. I just want to find out specifically, because it is directed to postgrad students and helping them with their research and writing skills. I'm involved with a postgrad diploma where we find that the students have extremely weak writing skills and struggle to actually even understand the notion of plagiarism. What would be your advice? Would you rather suggest that we sign up with one of these research journal type of websites, or do you think that we actually develop our own course, which we were thinking of to do an introduction course to help the students with their writing skills and plagiarism? And then secondly, if you think that would be a good idea, would you guys be able to help us with that? Because we're in commerce faculty.
Well, we're going to say yes. But to answer your question, I mean, what I failed to mention with both public mental health and with Mellon, the idea is that for the 3 years, we collaborate with these sites in developing the course. But at the end of those 3 years, it's their course. So whatever tools, whatever learnings, whatever knowledge emerges from that experience, is the issue of plagiarism what we think it is? Is it patchwork plagiarism? Or is it also about negotiating with other voices, other knowledge makers? So it's a research process where we bring to light knowledge around that, student experiences, staff experiences, and then those sites use that to then go and run with the course. I don't know if my colleagues want to add anything.
With the Commission on Public Mental Health, plagiarism has also been an issue, a concern amongst the staff, so that is why we're acting and looking at what we do. And perhaps I should say with a lot of people, when they've said, can we help, we've said, perhaps try the course yourself on our next iteration, and then we can have a conversation.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I was actually just wondering how this course would help in terms of publication, expectations from journals, from editors, you know, how would it actually help in terms of that? Thank you.
So we've had a few participants who are actually aiming to participate in the course. And I think what the course offers them, it makes the audience of readers real, because there's an actual group of other researchers and writers looking at your work and commenting on it. So I think that's one benefit. They have access to resources on that particular topic. I don't know if you want to add anything in terms of benefiting publishing.
It might be interesting to think about whether there is space for one that is specifically aimed at publishing, to try and use some of the same principles that we've developed, which is we don't, it's not a very directive pedagogy, it's much more sort of exploratory. But I think it would be the ultimate challenge for us to see if we could do something that kept the degree of openness that we value, but did look at that sharp end of publishing. So, you know, maybe that's another discussion that we can have.
Thank you. My question is around online and participation. So this course is online and your participants are voluntary. They sign up for it because they want to do it. Okay, so my question is, we want to do a resource for our commerce students in their first year, and we want to put it online. And my reservations are always around online and participation. Can you comment on that? How you find your participation?
So for instance, I know with Just Write sessions, we've had participants being active in those sessions via WhatsApp. But issues of material access do concern us. The Writing Your World massive open online course, that's a gateway course, particularly aimed at students transitioning into university, for instance, allows you to also download the resources, save it on a flash drive so that you can view it later, so you don't have to go online and connect. So there are ways around it. For journeys in research writing, there's also part of the suite is navigating research writing, which has a face-to-face component to it. So diverse offerings, I think, is also one of my answers, one of my responses to your question.
And
Not just online. For the Mellon space, like I said, uses the blend-in model. So it relies, the face-to-face, I would say, is where the magic actually happens. But the online supports that.
I might have missed something from your presentation, but I was wondering, like, you talked about the participants logging onto the system and then doing the writing inside the platform. So I was wondering what kind of support you offer those who are writing. I heard the part where you talk of communities of practice and other researchers in the journey also commenting on what is going on, and that there are low completion levels. Do you also make a follow-up to find out what could have been the impediments to completing the course?
So, I mean, that's exactly the stage of the research process that we're at now. We're trying to contact particular participants and sit down with them and talk about their experiences. Because that idea of completion is interesting. Like I said, some may use it as a course. So I'm going to walk this entire journey towards the completion of this particular thing. But if I'm only looking for resources on literature reviews, and literature reviews is covered in week 3, then maybe that's where I'm going to exit.